So, good evening. I hope that you can hear me. So, good evening. I hope that you can hear me. So, good evening. And I have a terrible delay on my headphones, so I'm going to do it without. Hear me. So, good. So this is a terrible delay which is good. Headphones, so I'm going to do it without. All right. So this is a terrible delay on my headphones, so I'm going to do it without. All right. So this is a terrible delay on my headphones, so I'm going to. Is it better now? All right. So this is a terrible delay on my headphones, so I'm going to. Is it better now? All right. So okay, no, but now it should be good. Yeah, the problem is I have the stream in the background in the Twitch dashboard running, and I just turned off that volume, so that should fix it. Can somebody maybe confirm? Should be okay now. Jawohl. Okay. So I'm now live streaming something which should have probably happened 10 years ago when the 4Klang synthesizer was introduced. Since then, people seem to have some issues understanding how to build instruments. This is why they mostly use default instruments which come in the package. So the idea behind this is to start a little series of how to use 4Klang and how it works. So that should be okay. Yeah, I know. I'm relaxed. I don't know how this works, but it's very nice to see Mob. Hello, and Theo, of course, and Frank Extreme. Hello, everybody there. Okay. This is the agenda for tonight. There's no fixed script. That means I don't know how long it will take. If I'm really fast in clicking, it might be 15 seconds. But I think I have to say something about every slide, so it should be okay. So, back to the agenda. So, first is what the fuck? What is 4Klang? Then I will try to give you a little bit of an explanation what the GUI does, what the elements in the GUI do. Then we go through all the units that are available, and then we're going to have a closer look into the default instrument and the global and the stack which is behind it. And at the end we try, no, I will create an instrument, but this is for the end. Okay, so let's start. WTF. 4Klang is a modular software synthesizer package intended to easily produce music for 4K intros. This comes from the doc which comes with it. It is indeed the intention. However, if I'm not sure if this is always successful to easily produce music for 4K intros. There's some limitations that come with it, and I remember from the past when I was the beta tester, the so-called how is it called in German? Nee, das kann ich nicer nicht. That's maybe a question into the chat. I was the beta tester, and there was some things Yes, Versuchskaninchen. Yes, yes, yes. Thanks. It's late. Um, I was the beta tester, and we had many things to do. So there was some things I wanted to have in the synthesizer, which I thought which would help me in producing this. And Gopher came up with the, let's say, coda approach of an uh, easy handable synthesizer. So we somehow met at 75% in favor for Gopher. So now we're going to the GUI. So when you open up in your favorite host the VST, it should look like this, which is a tiny window which is not resizable, but it doesn't matter. It includes everything you really need. So, and then to go into more detail, we have the, on the left upper side, the file operations and patch operations. So you can load, save, and restore either the whole patch, which is usually in, oh, sorry, I'm clicking on the PowerPoint, which is usually the 16 instruments, or instrument is a single instrument. But also you need to be careful, and we come later to this. You see here we have an instrument tab and a global tab. You can also load normal instruments you created into the global tab, and it will not work for reasons, and the reasons will be explained later. So, but that this here you can load either a whole patch or a single instrument. Which brings me to the instrument properties, where you select the instrument. So this is where you select the active instrument that you want to edit on the in the instrument tab. If you load an instrument, it will load it into the active instrument that you selected in the properties. That doesn't work for the global. It will, because the global only exists once. So if you have accidentally selected the global, it will load it anyway, and it doesn't ask. It just loads it. Some feature here is the link instrument, which enables you to have, if you have two instruments that are built the same, you can link one. You have one master instrument, and you can have slave instruments. So whenever you do changes on one instrument, on the master, it will automatically change that on the slaves as well. So for example, you have instrument number 2 linked to instrument number 1, and you change a slider in a filter setting, it will do it on the second instrument, the slave instrument, as well. Then we have the, I called it the voice section. I don't think it has a name, but voice section somehow made sense. Where you have the instrument tab, where you have all the units inside for the instrument. And on the right side of this voice section, you have the stack signal counter, which is very important because it gives you a rough overview of how many signals you have on the stack, and if an instrument is not working properly, where you are maybe missing an arithmetic operation, or so you either have not enough signals or too many signals. And the global tab. So the global tab can be seen as an instrument as well, but it's not an instrument that plays, that you can trigger from the outside. Well, yeah, in theory, yes, you do this through the instrument. However, this instrument gathers all instrument outputs from 1 to 16 and accumulates the signals. And yes, So it accumulates the signals, and then you have output on the sound card, so otherwise you don't hear anything. Whatever unit you select on the left side in the instrument stack, it will give you the adjustable slots and the values of the selected unit. So you either have buttons for fixed settings, or you have sliders, which usually represent a number between 0 and 128, or 0 and 1, however you want to look at it. Another nice thing is the polyphony. So if it's set to 1, which is the default one-time polyphone, that means you hit the note on your keyboard and the instrument starts playing. If you hit the second note, the first will stop immediately and it will start with a new cycle on the envelope with the attack. When it is set to 2 times polyphone, then when you hit the second note, or the note is re-triggered, the actual playing note goes into release. So this is something which is very useful if you like create strings. So you can have another string starting, or you play the note and a different note starts on the same instrument. Then the first played note will go into release. So you have a quite good fade between them. Then this is something which is also, well, it's not tricky. It's actually quite simple. Just leave it on the defaults. Except you want to use some output for syncing, for example, then you would use the record envelopes or record notes. However, if you're done with your song and you are ready to record it, then you usually stop everything on the host. You hit record, and from this moment, 4Klang starts to listen to the MIDI stream. You hit play on your host. 4Klang will record the MIDI input. And once you are done, you hit the stop button, and then you will present it in a dialog to save the files which you need to include it in your executable. Yeah, the other stuff explains itself. The 16-bit output actually is still there, I guess, for sentimental reasons. Nobody's using this. I actually never... There was a few cases where sound cards did not support 32-bit float. But this was fixed, I think, in the executable directly and not during the export. If you look at the pattern size in the quantization, so the default value is 16. That means internally it will have a 16 tick pattern structure, and the quantization is set also to 1/16, which gives you 1 full tick per pattern. You can set it to also 32 or 32th. 1/32, 1/32, which will end up in 2 patterns actually. But you can also set the pattern size to 32. This is something you need to experiment with. However, if you use Crinkler or whatever, what is the better ratio that the data packs later on? There's a little bit to play with. I actually never changed this, so I always leave it on the default, which was always okay for me. Then of course the one on the bottom, stay alive noise while recording, is also self-explaining, so you will hear some beeps and ticks while it's recording, so you know it is still alive the 30 half, 1/30 half. Yeah, this is good. We're gonna keep it like this. Okay, for me, this is the most important button. This is also why it's the biggest. It's the panic button. So what it does, it stops the audio output immediately. And it's very useful when you accidentally overload unit values, meaning you have like let's call it a control instrument that controls filter values from an external instrument, for example, and it's already set to like a value of 64, and you overload it with a new value of 72, which just crashes. And yeah, so I think I lost a lot of frequencies before this in my ear, before this panic button came in. But it came quite fast. I think it's there since the first official release, and even before. So this is even I mean, especially if you do the music and while wearing headphones, it's no, it's a no-go. Okay, so next on the agenda was the units we have. So we start with the envelope unit, which is an envelope generator that provides attack, decay, sustain, release, and a gain value. Yes, if you have stuck notes, all notes off, everything down. The envelope, so it's an envelope generator, which is nice to have, especially if you're having a synthesizer. So the next unit would be an oscillator, which generates the waveform, where we have the options of a sine, saw wave, pulse, noise, or gate, which is more a pattern. And you can also set this to be in LFO. Then we have a filter unit, which provides 12 dB, low, high band, notch, peak, all filters. I don't think they go really up to 11 point something kilohertz. It's a little bit between, but it's good enough. So it's okay. Of course, a distortion unit, which also comes with a sample and hold effect. Then we have a delay line, where you can add a delay or a reverb to the signal. Then the so famous arithmetic operations on the stack. So this provides multiplication of signals, or you can create the sum, and you can push signals on the stack, you can remove signals. So all the stack operations are done with the arithmetic. Then we have the store unit, where whatever signal is the topmost, well, yes, whatever signal is there on the stack, the topmost signal, you can store this away and use it somewhere else. So the store will give you a selection, which we will see later, where to send it. Then we have the panning unit, which basically generates a stereo mix. So this has a one signal input and then two signals output, and also it provides the mixing between left and right. Then we have the output itself, which sends basically the stereo voice signals from or the amount of signal you want to push to the output and the auxiliary to the global accumulate unit, which is in the global stack. Then we have a load value, which basically you can push a value on the stack. We have a glitch unit that creates a delay-based retrigger effect. And the accumulate, which gathers the global output signals from output and aux from output or aux from whatever you send from the output of the instrument. So the accumulate is only available in the global section actually. So here again, different view on the unit. So we have the envelope. These are the attack, decay, sustain, release, gain as sliders. What it does, it pushes a signal on the stack following the values of attack, decay, sustain, or release, and the gain. Then for the oscillator, I have 2 times shape. I missed that. Where you have the fixed buttons for sine, trisaw, pulse, noise, gate, or LFO, and then the sliders for frequency, detune, phasor. Basically everything you need to modify an oscillator and make it sound interesting. On the filter, we have the cutoff and the resonance sliders, and the buttons for the low pass, high pass, band pass, notch, peak, and the all filter. And this, of course, modifies the top stack value. The oscillator pushes a signal on the stack, and this modifies whatever is on the stack, the topmost signal. Same does the distortion, where you have a slider for the drive and the sample and hold. A delay line, where you have the settings for no sync, BPM lock, and note. And you can set it for either delay or reverb. And then you have the sliders for damping, delay. And the frequency and depth, that's actually for the chorus. I should probably do another stream just for the delay line, or just for all the units, one after another. Yes. So this is the arithmetic, which is very powerful, where you have you can set it for all these things. So you have load node, which loads the MIDI node value and pushes this value on the stack. With push, you can push a signal on the stack. So basically it creates a copy of the topmost signal. So you have the 2 times the same on the first or on the highest stack. Then with pop, of course, you remove it. Exchange will remove the top and the second one, the position. Then just with the plus, you push the sum of the 2 top signals on the stack. With the plus pop, it will push the sum of the top 2 signals, but it will also remove the 2 top signals. So we have, it's just the pure sum which ends up on the stack. Same for the multiplication. So of course this will push the product, or it will pop the 2 top signals, multiply them, and then push the product back. For the 2 plus and the 2 multiplication, this is basically used if you have stereo signals. So you see this by default on the global instrument, but it is also used if you are using stereo oscillators. Then the store unit. So here you can select which instrument to send it, which unit, and which value you want to store. And it takes the topmost stack signal and sends it to whatever you select here. So there's also a feature, let's call it like this, it's not bound local. You can send this value anywhere you like. So to any other instrument, or even to the global to modify something on the global output. You will actually see, if you want to store, if you select the instrument and the unit, then if you select the value, you will see what the values are that you can actually modify, because not everything is available there. Yeah, panning. Okay, slider for left and right. So generates a stereo signal. And the output, where you can select the amount of signal, let's call it like this, which will be sent to the global stack, to the accumulate unit. Here you can select a value on the load unit, which pushes this value on the stack. So it should be something between -128 and +128. Accidentally, it has a wrong description in the GUI, so it will show, I think, 0 to 64 or -64 to 60. I don't know. We can check later. But it's actually the full range. Yeah, the glitch unit. That's probably something where we can also make a new stream about, just to explain how it works. Yeah, the accumulate unit. So it's the input. You either select the output or the auxiliary. So you have to decide what it should accumulate. Either or the output or the auxiliary. Yes, that is true. Only Virgil can use it. I think he's the only one who actually ever used it, and it was never used since then. Which speaks for this unit itself. Okay. Let's have a look at the default instruments and the default global. And I will try to explain the stack a little bit. So here we have the default instrument, which consists of an envelope, an oscillator, an arithmetic unit, which is set for multiply pop. We have a delay line, we have the panning, and the output. So what does it actually do? We have the envelope here. It puts its signal on the stack. So +1. And the total stack count is 1. Then we have the oscillator. It puts the signal, or the oscillator signal, on the stack. Another signal. So we have 2 signals on the stack. Then we have an arithmetic, which is set for multiply pop. So it will pop the 2 top signals and push the product of the signals. So what it will do, it will take these two signals, remove them from the stack, and push back the product. So -2 multiplied +1, so we have again 1 signal on the stack. Then we have the delay line, which adds delay or reverb. It's set for delay by default. It doesn't add or remove any signals, no push or pop. So we still have this 1 signal, but now with delay. Then we have the panning, which will generate the stereo mix for left and right. So this will add another signal, because now we have 2 signals on the stack, and one is used for the left channel and one is used for the right channel, which then is sent to the output unit, and this sends this complete signal to the global stack, like said before, according what you have said there, how much of output, how much of auxiliary. It will remove these 2 values and you end up at 0. So how does it look in a flow diagram, kind of? So it will look something like this. So we have the envelope and the oscillator, which are multiplied. Then a delay is added. Then it's pushed into the panning unit, and you have two signals output. That's it. Very simple. So now, what do we do with this? We have a look at the default global instrument in the voice section tab for the global. So the first we have here is accumulate all aux signals. Then it adds a reverb. Then we have the exchange arithmetic. Then it's another reverb. Then we change it back. Then we have we accumulate the output, and then we add these both values together. So whatever is sent to auxiliary, it will add a reverb. Then this arithmetic exchange is important because we know that only the topmost signal is affected by the delay line. So we have to swap, as we have a stereo signal here, and then the output is the output. So I better explain this on the ja, ich geb Gas. Bernd, ihr hitzt mal nicht, Junge. So on the stack, we have the accumulate, which is set for aux. It pushes or it puts the signal on the stack that it accumulated from all the aux values from all the instruments. So this we have, as we have a stereo signal now, +2, so 2 signals on the stack. Then we add the delay line, which is set to reverb in this case, which adds a reverb to the topmost stack signal. So no signal added or removed, still 2 signals. And then we come to the arithmetic, which is set for exchange. So it will exchange the 2 top signals. So 1 becomes 2, 2 becomes 1. That means we still have our 2 signals, but they have changed the order. Then we add another reverb. So this now, the topmost signal is the one where we don't have the reverb on. So we add the reverb to this signal. Again, nothing changed, still 2 signals. Then we change it back. So to revert the stereo exchange that we did before. So left is left again, right is right again. Still 2 signals on the stack. Then we're gonna go accumulate the output of all signals, and it will add the two signals, which is the stereo signal from all instrument output. So we end up with 4. And now we add these together and remove. So it will take away the 4 signals. It will push the sum of 1 and 3 and 2 and 4. That means, in this case, 1 would be the delay left channel from the first aux, and 3 would be the left channel from the accumulated output. And then the same on the right or on the other side. So 2 and 4, we have on 2 is the reverbed signal from the accumulated aux, and on 4 we have the signal, the right channel, for the normal output. And this is then sent phone call. Thank you. I'm sorry. Yes. Global output. It will remove these 2 signals, and then it's 0 again. And this is then when you actually hear it. Yes, and it's actually worse. It was not only telephone, it was my mother-in-law calling. And I just pushed her away. Oh no. Okay, so the signal flow for the default global would look like this. So we have from all the instruments we have, it's accumulated, or the aux signal is accumulated. We push it into a delay line. No. This will be just after this. It will be the sample sound, but it's a little bit more sophisticated, not the default one. Arithmetic will exchange the left and the right channel. Delay line again. Arithmetic, change it back. Then we accumulate the output. We add these two signals together, and then we have the output which goes to the sound buffer. So now let's build an instrument. And this is the instrument we're gonna build. So what do we have here? We have 1, 2 envelopes. We have 1, 2 oscillators, 3 oscillators. We are using different arithmetic units. We have distortion, sample and hold. We use the store. We're gonna create a control instrument that will control the cutoff value of the filter. And this is what it looks like. So, but let's fire up my tracking program, which is this. We can make it smaller. Okay, so why is everybody calling me now? Go away. All right, so let's fire up 4Klang. Here we go. So if somebody would actually tell me if you could hear this. No, I can't even hear it myself. Can I? Oh no, Yes, perfectly. Oh, okay. Sorry. Because I can't hear it on my headphones for some reason. 1 second. Let me adjust this. Ah, yeah, perfect. Okay. So, we're going to clear this all. Okay. So, how would I create this instrument if I have this flow? I would create it from the middle part, so where we have the main thread going from the oscillators to the output, and then add the additional parts later on. So basically, this would look like, so we have this envelope on position 1, which is this envelope here. So we're going to create a sawtooth oscillator, and maybe somebody doesn't know. So you click on set, you select the unit, oscillator, and here we're gonna make it a tri-saw, and to make it a real saw, we're gonna push the color slider all the way up. Also, when you see it here on the bottom, there's a little signal count. So if after the last unit, the signal count is not 0, it will give you an invalid signal warning. So you can already see that something's wrong with the stack. Okay, so yes, we have a second oscillator. We're going to push it right after, and then we have this arithmetic plus pop. Same thing, plus select the unit, arithmetic, and we set it to plus pop. So what we did now is we have the two signals of the oscillator, which are added together, and now we want to multiply this with the signal which comes from the envelope. So right behind it, we're gonna make a multiplication. So that means we end up at this stage now here, right in the middle. We can then add the filter. I'm going to take out the resonance completely. And then we have the panning, which will create the stereo signal. Then we have the output. So now signal is okay. We should already be able to hear something. Okay, so this doesn't sound very interesting. So we're going to adjust the oscillator, the envelope a little. Let's make something like this. The release can be. Okay, so at least the signal is working. So now what we want to do is we want that the cutoff value is controlled by another envelope. So how do we do this? So we can actually add this somewhere in between the stack. You could see it a little bit like if there's a unit that pushes a signal on the stack, it's a little bit like if you do math and you have brackets. So whenever you open a bracket, you have to close it. If you don't want to have something calculated in this bracket that you want, or you don't use it afterwards anymore, or whatever, you want this to be away from the sum. So I will just add it here on the bottom after the output. So we're going to get an envelope. Then we have the store. So now you see here the store says no target. So we are going to select the local stack, which is this stack of this instrument. But as you can see, you can send it anywhere. But we're going to stay local. So the unit we're going to select is the filter. And the slot we're going to select is the cutoff frequency. So now there's two options again. You can either push this button here, pop, which make go the signal away, because after the store we don't need the signal anymore and the stack needs to be 0. This I actually don't know in which version this was introduced, but in the past you had to do something like this, add another arithmetic and pop the signal away. So this, for convenience reasons, has been moved into here also to save some units. So we have now this envelope, which looks like this, which stores this value of the envelope to the cutoff frequency of the filter. Good, number one. So now that if you have these two trisources running on the same phase, same frequency, same detune, they sound actually very boring. So how could we change this? We can create something like a random generator. So how can we do this? Well, let's first have a, how does it sound? I'm going to do this all the way to the button. So you hear now that this envelope modifies the value of the filter. Okay, so this works. So what we want to have, we want to have something like this, punchy. Okay, so now this one on the bottom is our random generator, where we want, which we want to use to set a random value on this phase slider here. So how do we do this? We create an oscillator that provides us with noise. Then we have the distortion unit, where we have this sample and hold, which we put all the way to the 0. So now we have one value from the noise, which is here. So every time you push or you trigger the instrument, you will have a different value here. It depends on the noise. But here it's the same thing. You store it away to the target, and this time the target is within the oscillator. And here it's the phase. So now if you have the amount on 0, you will probably not, we need to pop it away, of course. It needs to be 0. No difference. Now we have a random value between 0 and 64. So this gives you a different phase start of the second oscillator. So now do this a little bit, transpose it by 1 octave, change the maybe do this a little bit. So, which actually gives you a nice instrument. So, as I said, it looks kind of difficult, but at the end, it isn't. So the only thing you need to really take care of is whatever signal you have, you will see it on the stack. What you do with it, you need to end up with a 0 on the stack. And then just play around. So I'm going to close this down, minimize it. Which brings me actually now after, I don't know what time it is. Oh, 50 minutes roughly. To the end of this episode. And so, do we have something coming up? Yes. I was actually talking to Virgil, and he's very keen, and he doesn't know yet, but we probably do this together on another episode which explains a little bit on how to create physical modeled instruments. Yeah, now he's laughing. Yeah, this will stop. Yes, but I'm very bad at physical modeling, and no. All right. So I hope this cleared a little bit the usage of 4Klang, how to build instruments, how the units work. It was very basic as a beginning. Like I said in the beginning, this should have happened probably 10 years ago. So now people can start and build their own instruments in every kind of way. All right, so everybody, thank you very much for your attention. I hope you enjoyed it a little bit. I hope it was not too boring. I hope you learned a little bit. And I probably see you the next time when I stream again, if it happens. All right. Thanks very much.